and welcome to Rathods Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 2nd August 2025 days. So before getting started, I want to make a small announcement. We are launching new batch. Already this batch had been started from yesterday guys. So try to take admission by this week so that you will be not missing much more number of classes guys. And if you want to know the details of this new prelims cum mains foundation course, you can call us on the number which is appearing on the screen. That is 8074765513 guys. And if you want to meet me directly, you can come to the office which is located in Ashok Nagar, Hyderabad. And now let us see the first article. See the title. India-US ties have weathered several challenges, says MEA. So what are the keywords? So this article is talking about challenges between India and US relations, right? So here this article is important very much because we are talking about India-US relations. So from which subject you can see this? You can see this topic from your GS paper to under international relations. Okay. So here this article, it is mainly talking about challenges between India and US. Now you guys tell me, what are the challenges that we have between India and US? A student visa issue. Next.
Tariff.
Okay, so first challenge here is tariff. So how much percentage of tariff is imposed by US now? So now 25% of tariff. And next, what are the other challenges? Student visa issue. Next. So recently US came up with this Russia Sanctions Act of 2025, and how much percentage of tariff they are going to impose? Up to 500% of tariff. And next, any other challenges between India and US? Yes, CAATSA. Next.
Mediation between India and Pakistan.
Yes, recently there is allegation that US is also helping Pakistan. Next. Come on, tell me. Those are the recent challenges, right? So now we have to see here present challenges, and apart from this, what are the other historical challenges we have? So we have to see these both areas. Okay, and you may get mains based question from this area in this year mains case, that is in 2025 mains. So students who are going to write this year mains, be careful with this topic. So here this article is saying that there is weathering off, that is nothing but disruptions in ties between India and US is happening in the recent past. So this is the thing which mainly said by our Ministry of External Affairs. Why? Because in yesterday's class we discussed that 25% of imposition of tariffs on this Indian imports to US, right? Apart from this, even India is also going to get disadvantaged because of this Russia Sanction Act of 2025. So if you see the historical challenges between India and US, so from this Cold War time onwards, from 1960s onwards, we are having dynamics in India and US relations. So India is having, okay, so if you go to past, if you go to this 1960s time, at that time we have Cold War. During that Cold War, two power blocks formed. On one side US and another side USSR, that is Soviet. So at that time, so every country has asked like whether you will be aligning towards US or USSR. At that time, India and third world countries which are having lots of challenges like poverty, hunger, population, everything. So they said that we are not going to align with US or USSR. At that time, India came up with non-alignment movement. We don't want to align with US or USSR. But always there is a tilt towards USSR. India showed a tilt towards USSR. So because of this, from history onwards, we are having some issues between India and US relations because of this non-alignment movement and even tilting towards USSR. So that is the first important challenge if we trace back to history of 1960s. And next one here is economic disputes. So actually when this Trump 2.0 and Trump 1.0 era started. So always there are issues between India and US regarding trade because India is enjoying trade surplus with this US. At that time in 2019, US revoked generalized system of preferences status, and recently that generalized system of preferences had been removed for India. Again, this is one more issue between India and US. And this one is there is always geopolitical differences between India and US because India is tilted toward Russia because we are getting military equipment, we are getting oil from this Russia, despite of this CAATSA, that is countering of America's adversaries through Sanction Act. So because of this, there is a point of contention between India and US. And next one is there is always domestic political shifts. So before this Trump 2.0, we have Joe Biden as president of US. So at that time, we made lots of agreements for improvement of relations. And again, now government changed in US. So again, there is differences between India and US in many areas. So these are the historical differences. And if you see the current differences, the first one is tensions. So because of this tariff tensions, 25% of tariffs on our Indian goods, which sectors is going to be affected? Pharmaceuticals is going to be affected, textiles, IT services, etc. So because of this, the bilateral trade between India and US will be going to be affected. And this one is Russia-related friction. So because of Russia-Ukraine crisis and US wants to mediate this Russia-Ukraine crisis and wants to stop the war. So because of this, US want to hit Russia economically. So because of this, the countries which are doing trade with Russia regarding oil and as well as energy, Russia wants to impose sanctions, US wants to impose sanctions on those countries. So they came up with this Russia Sanction Act. So this is also one impact now. And apart from this, Trump is also doing some criticism of this BRICS. And Trump is saying that BRICS as anti-US agenda. So because of this also there is decreasing of or differences between India and US relations. And next one here is recently Operation Sindoor happened, and there is some spreading of misinformation that yes, Trump claims of mediating India and Pakistan ceasefire in May 2025. So because of this, again, there is diplomatic damage between India and as well as US. So these are the challenges, which are historical challenges and as well as present challenges. And now let us see next article, see the title. Supreme Court elects withdrawal of plea to bring parties under POSH Act. So what is the keyword? Keyword is POSH Act. So you have to know about this act for sure. So what is the full form of this POSH? Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act. And from which subject we can see this, guys? Society and even governance and even polity, we can see this topic. And it is very, very important because day by day there is increasing of sexual harassment of women at workplace, at educational institutions, whatever the place it may be. So because of this, yes, we have to know about this POSH Act for sure, and there will be a short question 2025 regarding this POSH. Okay, now let us see some facts regarding this POSH. So actually POSH, it is a legislation enacted by our government of India. So see the year, that is in 2013. So before this 2013, in 2012, which was the act which government came up, which is focusing on sexual harassment? Yes, government came up with this Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act in 2012, and later on they came up with this POSH Act. So this POSH Act, which deals with sexual harassment of women at workplace. And the important aim of this act, it is to create a safe and conducive work environment for women, and they want to provide protection against sexual harassment at workplace. And this POSH Act, which defines this sexual harassment as acts such as physical contact or sexual advances or any demand or request for sexual favor or making sexually colored remarks and showing pornography or any other unwelcome physical or verbal or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. All these are punishable offences under this POSH Act. And next important point here is you have to know the background of this POSH Act, why we came up with this POSH Act. So here you have to know about one important case that is called as Vishaka and others versus State of Rajasthan 1997. And in this judgment, Supreme Court came up with the guidelines called as Vishaka guidelines. So actually in this case is about one nurse who is working in hospital, and in that place she had this sexual assault, and finally she went into coma and finally death. So because of this, yes, government came up with this Vishaka guidelines, and you have to know what are the provisions under this guidelines. Very, very important. So because of these guidelines, we came up with enacting of this POSH Act in 2013, guys. So what is the root of this act is Vishaka guidelines. It is related to Supreme Court judgment of Vishaka and others versus State of Rajasthan. Very, very important. And if you see the provisions, the first one, they said that we have to prevent and we have to prohibit this kind of sexual harassment for women at workplace. The first important point. And this one is, they said that if there is any workplace where we have 10 or more employees, then we have to establish internal complaints committee. That should be for sure. And this committee has the powers of civil court. And this committee now can gather evidences of that so and so incident. And this one is, it also says about duties of employers. Employers must undertake awareness program, and even they have to provide safe working environment, and they have to display information regarding this POSH Act at the workplace. And this one here is this guideline which also says about complaint mechanism. So we need to have a mechanism where we can take complaints and we can inquire the complaints, and even we can provide a fair opportunity for the parties who are involved in this issue. And this one is, yes, this act is also saying about penalties, like what should be the punishment if that so and so thing which had been proved. So these are the guidelines which are given under this Vishaka, and very, very important, guys. And you have to remember all these 5 points. And let us see the next article, see the title, Vice President poll to be held on September 9th, counting same day. So finally, Vice President election date had been announced by Election Commission of India, and we are following this article from last 1 week onwards. So just revise the things like articles related to Vice President, what are the parts of Vice President, who is eligible to become a Vice President, and next one is what is the election process, who will be involved in the electoral college, everything. In yesterday's class, we discussed about electoral college, right? So finally, we got the date. And here you have to see about what happens on the day of elections of Vice President, in-house what will happen, and next you have to see how this counting process happens. So actually, we'll elect our Vice President by this, which methods? Indirect method? Okay. Proportional representative system with single transferable vote. So on this day, you have to watch live like how the counting process happening. So whether they are following whatever you read in your Lakshmikant or not. See that once. Yeah, let us see the next article. See the title. ISRO gearing up for next US collaboration with Bluebird communication satellite. So the key word here is Bluebird communication satellite. So actually just now we discussed that the relations between India and US are strained. And now there is one more article which says that we are having cooperation between India and US. Actually this project is not new project. We came up with this project in year 2023 and we are going to launch this soon. So because of this, this is the news. So just see about this Bluebird communication satellite. Okay, so one important speciality of this Bluebird communication satellite is, so if we launch a satellite, now there is no need of mobile towers. So directly we can use satellite to make calls. Okay, that is one advantage of this Bluebird communication satellite. Clear? So now if you want to do mobile calls or like talk to anyone, so we will be using SIMs. We will be using our phones, right? And if there is no tower, if there is no signal, what happens? Can you do calls? No. But here, if this satellite launch happened and if this satellite is successful, then there is no need of towers, because as you all know that towers are having lots of negative impacts, right? So because of radiation, it is having impact on the health, and even it is having impact on the birds population, and even what happened, so we need we need a lot of time to establish or to build a tower, and we have to take the permission of that so and so house, and they have to pay rent for that so and so establishing installments, everything, right? So if this is successful means we can have much more advantages in this telecommunication sector. So we don't need to build these towers. Okay, now let us see this article, and this is very important from your science and technology. In science and technology, you have this topic called as telecommunications also, right? So from that area, you can add this topic. Okay, so ISRO is set to launch Bluebird satellite. It is a major US communication satellite. And for this, they are using India's GSLV, that is Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle, guys. And recently for launching of NISR also we used this same GSLV. And for this also we are also using this same GSLV, guys. And actually this satellite is manufactured by EST Space Mobile. And actually if this satellite is success means we can revolutionize our mobile communication. So it will enable direct voice calls from space without any special equipment like towers now. Clear? So here you have to use, where you can use this article, guys, whenever we write any answer regarding science and technology in betterment of lives of people, or how we can use science and technology for improving of standard of people. Whenever you're talking about solutions for the problems, there you can use this. Yes or no? So this Bluebird satellite or communication satellite will be very important for addressing the present challenges that we are facing regarding this mobile towers. Okay, like that you have to use this article whenever we're talking about the problems of humans, how we are overcoming by using technology. And next one here is this collaboration is very, very helpful for deepening of India-US ties, which are straining now. And this mission also highlights that yes, ISRO is progressing in satellite manufacturing, management, and even India is also providing services of the spacecrafts for other countries. And even it will be helpful for private sector entry into space. Clear? And now let us see the next article, see the title. Deep ties, India needs to engage in neighbors more closely. So actually this article is talking about India-Maldives relations. So this article said about only India-Maldives, and already we discussed about India-Maldives relations number of times, right? So why India-Maldives relations is in news? Why India-Maldives relations is in news? So our Prime Minister visited Maldives for what? For Independence Day celebrations, and it marks 60th anniversary of India-Maldives relations, right? So recently we discussed that, yes or no? And at that time we discussed about why India is focusing on Maldives. India is having its own interest. What are India's interest in Maldives? Security, next. Safety in Indo-Pacific region, next. To counter China, and even India is also supporting it. It's from climate change related conventions, everything. Okay, all those things that we discussed, right? So now this article is saying about we have to engage with our neighbors closely. So let us dig deep. So who are our neighbors, guys? Nepal, Bhutan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Bangladesh. So these are the countries which we are sharing directly boundary. So regarding neighbors, do we have any of our foreign policy dealing with these neighbors? So we have neighborhood first policy. So what does neighborhood first policy says? So we have to help our neighbors first, and we have to make good friends with our neighbors so that we can enhance security and cooperation between the countries. So that is the idea of this neighborhood first policy. Okay. So if you see our neighbors, so here we have Pakistan, China, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Bangladesh. So these are the countries with which we are sharing direct boundary. Do we have good relations with all these boundary countries? So what is issue with Pakistan? We have terrorism, border issue, Jammu and Kashmir issue, right? And what are the issues with China? Again, border issue, Next, infiltration, smuggling issue, and water wars. Yes or no? China is constructing dam on river Brahmaputra. That is called as super dam. So water war issue is also there. And with Nepal, again border issue. Next, with Bhutan, no issue. Lots of issues are there. So with Bangladesh, Tista river issue, illegal migration issue. Next, recently we stopped or we banned free movement. So not free movement regime. So here we stopped free movement regime here. So we stopped this air transit system, air and road transit system with Bangladesh, right? That means with almost all countries we are having issues. So if we are having issues with almost all countries, can we ensure proper implementation of this neighborhood first policy? No, right? So now let us see this article clearly from all countries' point of view. So here are India's foreign policy under this Narendra Modi. He mainly focused on neighborhood first policy. That is nothing but giving of importance first to our neighboring countries compared to that of other countries, so that we can have proper cooperation, proper connectivity, and as well as proper economic aid, and as well as proper cultural diplomacy with all these countries. But we are having a lot of challenges. If you see from China point of view, so China is increasing its investments through BRA. What is this BRA project? Belt and Road Initiative. And one arm of that BRA project is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So actually this China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, it is moving through this region that is called as Pak-occupied Kashmir. So India says that this Pak-occupied Kashmir is integral part of India. So without our permission, so how can you go for development of this CPEC corridor? So this is one important problem that we have with China. And apart from this, even many other countries, it is going on, it is going for developmental projects, and that countries are entering into debt trap. For example, recently Sri Lanka did that, and even Pakistan, and even Maldives also we have that issue of Chinese influence. So because of this, whenever China will go and will settle in that country for developmental projects, that so and so country will be having negative ties with India. Okay, and apart from this, Bangladesh is also moving towards China nowadays, because recently this Yunus, he gave a statement in China that northeastern part is extension of China but not India. Yes or no? So because of this, again straining of relations between this India and Bangladesh is happening because of this China. And this one here is we have border dispute and security concerns from different countries, that is India and Pakistan. We have cross-border terrorism, we have infiltration, we have Jammu and Kashmir, and we are talking about ceasefire, and we are talking about this Operation Sindoor, but we are not having persistent improvement of relations with Pakistan. And next one is regarding Nepal also, we have this border issue. Nepal is claiming Kala Pani and as well as Limpiadura and Lipulek. There are three areas of India which is mainly claiming by Nepal. They are Kala Pani, Limpiadura and Lipulek. So this is also one dispute between India and as well as Nepal. And if you say with China, already we know. So we have issues at western sector, central sector or middle sector, and next one is eastern sector. Again we have issues with China across this border. And next one here is, if you see about political stability, do Bangladesh have this political stability? No. Recently Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was ousted from this Bangladesh. So because of this, there is no political stability in this Bangladesh. And even Myanmar, in Myanmar civil war is happening, right? So military coup happened. So because of this, again in Myanmar also there is no political stability. So all these are the challenges that we have. And recently what happened in Afghanistan? Who came into power? Talibans. So again, India's engagement in this Afghanistan had been entirely decreased. So the countries with which we are sharing boundaries, we have lots of challenges. And next, here this article is saying that what are the strategies that we have to focus on to enhance engagement with these countries. So first one here is we have some regional groupings, like we have BIMSTEC and like we have SAARC. So here, so we have to focus on trade and security in these organizations. And next one is we have to propose free trade agreements or free trade areas with Southeast Asian countries. That is called as SAFTA. So this SAFTA will be helpful for non-tariffs or non-tariff barriers so that we can address our neighborhood concerns. And next one here is we have to counter China's influence. So how we can control this Chinese influence? So we can use Quad, we can use US, okay, we can use other countries for countering of China's influence in this Indo-Pacific region. And next one here is we have to use our soft power. So India is very famous for soft power. That is nothing but we can showcase our culture, spreading of our culture in other countries. For example, we can celebrate festivals like India Week in Bhutan, and we are celebrating India Week in Bangladesh, so that we are promoting tourism and as well as goodwill in other countries. And even increasing of scholarship that we can do for foreign countries, nationals, and as well as we can go for training programs so that we can train youth of Maldives and as well as Sri Lanka so that we can increase our influence in other countries. And we can also improve security ties, and we can go for expanding of our defense training schemes, and we can focus on improving of maritime security cooperation, and as well as we can use this IORA, that is Indian Ocean Rim Association, to counter this Chinese naval presence in this Indo-Pacific region. So these are the things that you have to see as a whole. So actually this article just talked about Maldives, but I gave information of all our neighbors, guys. Okay, see this article, guys. The fact is mangroves drive business. So what is this article talking about? Mangroves, and it is helpful for our economy. So what are mangroves? Mangroves are the salt tolerant trees which are mainly present in intertidal zones. So in India, where do we have mangroves? East Coast and West Coast. The famous mangroves in India is Sundarbans, which are located in which state? West Bangladesh, and as well as in West Bengal of our Indian state, we have the Sundarbans. Okay, what are the services which are provided by this mangroves? Coastal, it can prevent coastal erosion, and it can also protect our coast from the high tides or storm surges. Next, they are the good fishing grounds. Next, they are also having good biodiversity. And next, okay, so it is also very much helpful for recreational activities and as well as tourism, environmental protection. So this article is saying that if we are protecting our mangroves, we can improve our economy. So how it is helpful for economy is, so here you can see. So here we can go for fishing here. So they have good fish stocks so that we can enhance sustainable catch here so that fishing industries can be improved. And this one is we can have good biodiversity, and most of our coastal livelihoods, they are dependent on these mangroves. So effective mangrove conservation is very important for ensuring of livelihoods here. And next point they said was, so please make a note here. So we have a platform called as Mangrove Mitras or Friends of Mangroves. So they are the open avenues for urban citizens and local communities to engage in conservation of mangroves. So if you're talking about conservation of mangroves, you can add this point as an example, and this is a value added point, that is Mangrove Mitras or nothing but Friends of Mangroves. They are the avenues where urban citizens, they can participate in conservation of mangroves, guys. So these are the points that mainly said here. So if you see conclusion part, this conclusion is very nice. So it is saying that policy makers and businesses, they have to recognize mangroves as a vital climate and economic infrastructure rather than just biodiversity zones. So we have to go for protecting and restoring of this ecosystem so that we can enhance science, business and community voices work in harmony so that each can bring unique strength to secure their future. So this is very nice, and you can use directly this conclusion part while you are writing your answers, guys. Okay, so just to see about your mangroves, already I think you wrote answer about this mangroves, yes or no? 2 to 3 days ago I gave question on this mangrove. So because of this I just gave the gist of this article. So these are the important articles that appeared in our today's Hindu newspaper.